Pete Davidson and Amandla Stenberg play a messed up party game in A24's horror comedy, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. It's got blood, gore, and some laughs, but is it worth the watch? Now, before I get into my review, I want to thank Movie Palette for sponsoring this video. A movie palette is a distinctive way to enjoy your favorite movie displayed artistically on canvas. These palettes are carefully crafted by digital artists who choose the dominant color from each scene of your favorite movie. These vibrant colors are then arranged side by side in stripes on a high-quality canvas. The stripes are displayed in chronological order, and the width of each one corresponds with the length of that particular scene. The result is an intriguing piece of artwork that gives you a unique view of your favorite movie. Now, mine that you've been seeing is from one of my favorite movies of all time, The Way, Way Back, with the awesome Sam Rockwell. Now, I really love how I can look at the colors and know exactly what's happening with each particular scene. So if you're a movie lover like me and you appreciate unique art, head over to moviepalette.com and peruse their collection. And if you don't see a movie that you're looking for within their list, don't worry, they'll custom make it for you. And if you use my discount code Munchies15, you'll get 15% off any product on the site. So head over to moviepalette.com and use discount code Munchies15 today. Thanks again so much to Movie Palette for sponsoring this video. Now let's dive into my review for Bodies, Bodies, Bodies. When a group of rich 20-somethings plans a hurricane party at a remote family mansion, a party game goes awry, leading to backstabbing, fake friends, and one party gone very, very wrong. This stars Amandla Stenberg, Pete Davidson, Maria Bakalova, Rachel Sennott, Sui Wonders, Myha'la Herrold, and Lee Pace. Now, there are these ultra-privileged young people who decide to have a hurricane party where they're going to drink excessively and do drugs while withstanding a huge storm. And as the night gets going, they decide to play a game called Bodies, 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 where one person is the killer. And then when the lights go out, everybody hides until one is killed. And then the remainder of the group has to try and figure out who the killer is. Now, it sounds like a fun game, but because there's existing tension and drama within the group of friends, the game doesn't go as planned, leading to unforeseen chaos. This is a very unique take on the murder mystery genre. Things are not what they appear, and I was in a constant state of guessing at what was actually occurring. Now, I liken this to And Then There Were None, but infused with a ton of adrenaline, screaming, and social commentary. The acting in this is wonderful, as they're able to craft characters that are mostly unlikable, but ones that I was still concerned with their outcomes. I mean, we can feel the conflict between many of the characters, and while not all of it is defined up front for us, the emotion and the tension that is present is palpable and it's uncomfortable. I love too how because so many of the characters are over-exuberant and passionate, it's hard to determine who is telling the truth at any given time. And even when there appears to be calm and level-headedness within the group, anxious assumptions are always on the periphery, threatening to erupt a scene just right into chaos. Rachel Sennott brings the most comedic relief to the narrative because her character is earnest, but also so wishy-washy on her ideals that she flips to whatever the dominant side is at any given moment within a conversation. And she also has a bit of airheadedness to her that makes the character simple, but then also frustratingly endearing. But I don't really like the character much in this. And that goes for all of the characters. I mean, they're not very relatable, and their privilege clouds any connection with reality. And this helps to provide a lot of the basis, though, for the social commentary. Privilege is examined as are assumptions on motives and behaviors. Now, there's an interaction in the first half of the movie with Pete Davidson, and the dude delivers a monologue that is fiercely biting and wildly relevant. I mean, he also says his lines with so much passion that you can almost see the daggers attached to the words that he's saying. And as uncomfortable as it could be to watch, I was also sucked in because of the pointed truth that he's spewing. Amandla Stenberg isn't the most likable character, but she's also painted that way pretty much from the start. Now, she's got a little bit of arrogance to her, but it's hard to determine if the animosity that is directed towards her is warranted or it's just out of some immature spite. Either way, though, she gives us a persona that I felt conflicted on through a lot of this. Now, sometimes I could empathize with her, and other times I saw her only as the villain. And I like that complexity because it kept me on my toes and it didn't let me get too comfortable with her character. The cast feeds off each other in great ways. Their energy is high and it's almost frenetic, but then it's coupled with cruelty and ire. And as events unfold, we get to see a breakdown of critical thinking. I mean, animal instinct takes over, but we get to ask the question if it's always warranted. Now, I really enjoyed some of the camera work in this, as it will put us up close with the characters, invading their personal space. And I like what that did for intimacy, removing the personal bubble and allowing us to be right alongside. But there were times that I didn't enjoy the camera work at all. I mean, in certain action sequences, the shaky cam became too much. What starts as an energetic and immersive scene becomes a jumbled mess of visuals where nothing is clear, and the motion is so jarring that there's nothing to focus on. This didn't happen all the time, but in the moments that it did, I felt more broken out of the story than included. Now, there were other times where the shaky cam was used efficiently, as we're running with our characters, for example. And while it's jostling and even sometimes hard to see, the imagery is still discernible and the motion enhances the emotion of a sequence. Now, I think as a Gen Xer, I may be a little outside the target demographic for this. Our screening audience was certainly mixed, but the majority were Gen Z and millennials. And there were portions where they found a scene or maybe a line of dialogue really funny, whereas myself and others that were around me that were near my age, we weren't laughing. Now, this didn't negatively affect my enjoyment of the movie by any means, but it did inform me that there were portions that are more generational in their nature. On the whole, though, the dark comedy transcends the age barriers and is fairly universal. I enjoyed the use of dark and shadows within the storytelling. And while the hurricane that's pounding the exterior of the home that the group is at, the inside is mainly illuminated by odd glowing exit signs or cell phone flashlights. Now, this drastically narrows our field of vision, which then creates a sense of dreadful tension because of everything that we cannot see. Our characters are lit in just the right amounts to have shadows obscure some looks and even facial expressions, which then create distrust amongst the group. And this also then creates mystery and intrigue for us as the audience because with everything that's happening, we're trying to discover the truth just as the characters are. This film is only 95 minutes, so it doesn't outstay its welcome, and it felt like the perfect amount for the story and the execution that we get. The pace is quick enough that I didn't feel any drag, nor did I get bored, but I also didn't feel like we were rushing through the narrative. This starts out by building our characters a little, illustrating the mistrust that already exists between them. And then when the real conflict of the plot begins, the story goes full bore into it, and it doesn't relent until the finale. Now, I never felt like I was missing bits of info, and thanks to the massive adrenaline rush that the story was providing, I was captivated the whole time. So overall, Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is mysterious, suspenseful, and urgent. The characters are a great mix of loathsome and endearing, each never settling on one or the other characteristic. The dialogue is witty and quick with some bite to it and moments of pointed social commentary. The dark comedy works well, and the actors effectively create an ominous tone of mistrust that permeates the story. While I wasn't a fan of some of the extreme shaky cam, the majority of the film looks great, especially with the use of minimal lighting to increase the intrigue. I don't think you need to be Gen Z or even a millennial to enjoy this. The dark comedy surpasses age barriers, making for a surprisingly fun murder mystery. There's not really any sex, but there are some sexual situations, no nudity, and an absolute ton of profanity and violence. I give Bodies, Bodies, Bodies 4 out of 5 couches. Have you ever played any group games in the dark like Bodies, Bodies, Bodies? Now, we used to play Sardines, which is kind of like reverse hide and seek. But let me know what you played, though, in the comments below. And also, don't forget to use the discount code Munchies15 at moviepalette.com. If you enjoyed this review, please give it a like. Also, don't forget to share and subscribe. I'm Chris. This is Movies and Munchies. Thanks for couching with me.